Welcome to Brain Chat with the Nerdy Neurologist. I'm Dr. Mitzi Joy Williams, and I'm your board-certified neurologist and MS specialist. My mission is to engage, educate, and empower those affected by MS to become an active part of their healthcare team. Here on Brain Chat, we'll be talking all things MS, health and wellness, advocacy, and we'll throw a little bit of music and music therapy in there as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for the next episode. Hello, friends. Welcome to Brain Chat. Happy Monday. Happy post Thanksgiving. I hope that everybody got some amazing food, and I hope everybody started exercising this week to work off some of that amazing food. But I'm your host, Dr. Mitzi Joy Williams. I'm a board-certified neurologist and MS specialist, and I am so excited to be here with you to talk about meditation and mindfulness. You guys know how we do on Brain Chat. Go ahead and put in the chat where you are logging in from. I bid you greetings from Atlanta, Georgia, where the weather is a little chilly. You know, that's relative. You know, I'm originally from Chicago. But I'm very excited to talk about this amazing topic today with two amazing people. So go ahead and put in the chat where you guys are logging in from. All right. I see some smiles. All right. Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. North Carolina in the house. Kentucky. I see you. Let's see. Michigan. All right. We got Dallas, Texas. All right. Columbus, Georgia. That's not too far from me. All right. We got someone else from North Carolina. And so we're so excited. So the reason I wanted to talk about this topic tonight is many of you know I'm very much about wholeness and a holistic approach to treatment, right? So we talk about medicines. I am a supporter of disease-modifying therapies for multiple sclerosis, but I am also very much about what you can do to improve your own health. And I thought this topic was really important because it would help not only people with MS, but really everybody. So meditation and mindfulness has been a game changer for me. So we are going to get into it and talk a little bit about it in more detail today. So we've got someone from Pittsburgh. We've got Philly in the house, Montgomery, Alabama. I see I see a Philadelphia in the house, San Antonio. All right. And I see Fort Pierce. All right. Perfect. All right. So let's get into it, guys. All right. So I've got two amazing guests with me tonight. And we are going to talk to Sonia Russell, and we're going to talk to David Walker, who are the co-founders of Blackfullness. All right. Perfect. So they are the co-founders of Blackfullness, and it's a really cool app. And so David and I actually went to college together and reconnected because they have this really cool app that they're going to talk about that is focused on mindfulness for people of color. So I'm super excited. So Sonia is the co-founder and CEO of Blackfullness, and she uses her obsession with technology and passion for mindfulness to organize and harmonize almost every aspect of her life. Listen, I need some help with that. Can I get an amen? She has been a small business owner for 20 years and an active leader for more than a decade. Her consistent mindfulness practices and frequent productive use of technology help her to effectively manage stress, consciously parent her powerful daughter, I love that, and skillfully and successfully design, build, cultivate, and grow containers where amazing things happen. She is a licensed spiritual counselor and is working on her degree in consciousness studies from the School of Spiritual Leadership. All right. And then we have David, who designs, builds, and cultivates successful and productive sales and strategic partnerships to increase awareness, affinity, I love that, buy-in, and revenue, all with mindfulness at the core. Over 15 years of experiences, he puts the funk in cross-functional training and leadership and uses his intense desire to serve to intentionally and effectively connect people, places, and ideas. Combining his commitment to his own mindfulness evolution and his commitment to create lasting change and healing, he is on a soul mission to serve, collaborate, impact, add value, and have fun. Well, listen, I know this is going to be a juicy conversation tonight. Listen, we're going to have a hard time cutting this off. Oh
Hey,
my God. Welcome,
hey,
guys. Welcome to Brain Chat. Thank you so much for joining me on this Monday night.
what up,
Yes.
Dr. Mitzi? What it do?
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So, listen, I've been waiting for this topic all year. Listen, I am a mindfulness girl, right? So this is
That's right.
right up
That's
my
right.
alley, and I'm so excited to share this information with people. So we're gonna get into mindfulness. Before, just tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got on this journey with mindfulness and meditation. So I
Hmm.
want to hear all about it. We'll start with Sonia.
Well, thank you for that intro, Dr. Mitzi. I'm super excited to be here with you. I love everything that you are doing. And so I was an event planner for a long time and then COVID. So that sort of puts that kind of in like a little
And then
nutshell,
COVID.
right?
Everybody's
And then
life says,
COVID.
and then COVID.
Exactly. Um, but I have been studying for a long time. I actually just received my degree in consciousness studies.
Yay.
Hey,
Exactly.
Sonya.
You can call me Reverend Sonia. Yes, you don't have to, but you
Yes.
can.
Come on,
Actually,
Reverend.
Um,
actually,
and
Reverend CEO,
Reverend CEO.
Reverend CEO.
Reverend CEO.
I love
Hmm.
it.
But I have, went through, like many people do, a really challenging time in my life.
Mhm.
And meditation and mindfulness became the answer to really save my life in a really critical
Mm,
time. And so, not only meditation, but all the other ways in which we can be mindful. So, I use music, I use
mhm,
hiking and walking,
mm.
I use dancing and yoga, and I use time with my daughter as mindfulness. There's just a lot of ways in which to do it. And so over the years, I've just worked really hard at being able to just be present to my life, right? Like
Yeah,
just be about it. Like this is my life. I'm not going to get another one.
right.
And if I'm not minding my own business, who's going to mind it for me? So I
Mhm.
started getting about really being about my life. And that really got me grounded in mindfulness. And then when this opportunity came with the app, David and I, COVID time, we were in the same bubble. Well, really, we welcomed him into our bubble because he doesn't have family in the Bay. So it was important. My mother and I consider ourselves keepers of the strays. We like to
What?
make sure
Mhm.
I'm a
Yes,
straight. I'm a
nobody is
straight. I'm a
left
straight.
right,
out.
right.
Yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. And what about you, David?
Well, first of all, thank you again for having us on your podcast. It's so dope to be reconnected with you and to watch the work that you're
Absolutely.
doing unfold. So thank you for having us here. But I was born and raised in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the Bible Belt buckle of the South. So my faith
Mhm.
and a spiritual journey has been a part of who I am for as long as I can remember. I spend about 6 out of 7 days of the week in church. You
Sounds
know,
like me. Sounds like
right?
me. Six and a
Um,
half.
6.5. What I'm saying? Give me 100 because 99.5 won't do. Uh,
Right, exactly.
That's right.
but
Running,
so
trying to
ru-
make 100.
running, okay. So I actually have been on this whole journey around spirituality, and I've dabbled and expanded in a lot. My basis is Christianity, and I've been able to add on to that. And when I moved out to California, I was introduced to mindfulness, and I was introduced to meditation. Um, and what I found in my journey is that meditation and mindfulness have provided some answers that I was always seeking when I was growing
Mhm.
up. Like, what is I've always had questions. I had questions. I had questions. I had questions, and things that just were not answered. Um, and mindfulness is showing me that all the answers that I ever need are right inside of me, and
Mm.
I can get to those answers, those responses, those things that are going to support my highest and best good when I allow myself to be present. And like
Yeah, I
Sonya
love
mentioned,
it.
presence can come from meditation. For me, because I'm a busybody, I'm my most present when I'm active, right? When I'm working out, when I'm running, when I'm cycling. There's no more way to be present when you're going down the hill 60 miles an hour and all you have is a helmet on or going down the
Right.
street on a bike,
You
right?
better be present.
You
You
gotta be
better be
super,
Show
present.
enough.
super present, right? So
Show
those,
enough.
those
Or
the
you'll
high,
be a present at the hospital.
right?
Show enough.
So mindfulness, helps me be present. And meditation looks many different ways. One of the things that Sonia
Mhm.
and I are really, really excited about is that we get the opportunity to decolonize and demystify mindfulness. Right? We Black folk
Mhm.
have been being mindful for years. Sonia and I just mentioned today that there is no way that you can be Black living in America and not have some type of mindfulness going on for you. Otherwise, you
Right.
wouldn't be here. we wouldn't be
Right.
here. I wouldn't be here, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
mindfulness is an opportunity. Meditation is an opportunity to get clear, to get
Yeah.
present, and it can
Right.
and it can be done in so many different ways. But
Yeah.
one form of meditation is closing your eyes and
Mm-hmm.
getting in the Buddha stance and having the little, the little kappa sign, while you
Uh-huh.
do it.
Well,
Okay,
I mean,
yo to
right
the
colors, wrong sign. Right colors, wrong sign.
yo to the noops. But meditation can look um, many different ways,
Yeah.
but whatever it is that brings me to a space of being present is what
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness is for me, and meditation can look any way I want it to look, as long as I'm able to be still and receive.
Yeah, I love that, and so I had a very similar upbringing. So originally from Chicago, shout out to the Chi, but I grew
Whoop.
up in ATL. And so, spent a lot of my time in church, a lot of time focused on prayer. And for me, mindfulness has been a practice that really has helped me focus, especially in the past couple years. I find myself very busy, like with a million projects, my kids who aren't banging on the door right now, but could be any second, and so all of these things trying to get my attention. And so I found myself in a place where I couldn't really focus on anything.
Mhm.
And so I began this mindfulness practice really as a way to kind of get myself centered, right? Because I would kind of get so caught up in the little minutia and the little bitty things of the day that I wouldn't get anything done because I'd be so focused on going off on this rabbit trail or that one. And so mindfulness for me was really a way to kind of center and focus myself and also to enjoy the time that I have, right now. Like instead of sitting with my kids wondering about how many emails I need to answer, like I'm actually sitting and present and we're playing games and I enjoy that. And then when it's time for me to do something else, then I do something else. So it really has been a game changer for me. And I recommend it to all my patients. So let's take a step back and talk about what is mindfulness, right? So there are all these ideas about mindfulness meditation. I remember kind of growing up, especially in, some church settings, it was like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. There's hocus pocus, all that kind of stuff. Or I remember Tina Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It? And she's got all these candles. She's talking about Nam
I'm
Yoho,
your old
all this stuff,
Great
right?
big
And
yo.
yo.
so
Yes.
yeah, so let's I love that word demystify. I believe you said that earlier, Sonia. Let's kind of demystify, talk about what is mindfulness? What does that mean?
Right. So that's so funny you say that. You know what? For all intent and purpose, mindfulness is just paying attention.
Mm.
Right.
Right.
At the end of the day, all the other stuff that's been added, Buddhists, yes, they do mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Other cultures do mindfulness. Absolutely. But what we're talking about is just being present. Are you actually staying present with the thing that you're doing right now? Can you
Right.
do that? Right. Like, can
Right.
you give your full attention to what's happening? And most importantly, to what's happening in your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you be in your body when something happens? So that when something unpleasant happens or something dangerous happens, there's a stimulus and there's a response. And in that space, that's where we get to be mindful, right? Like
Right.
in that space is where we get to figure out what our next move is. And so
Mm-hmm.
being mindful is just about knowing yourself so well
Right.
that when something crazy happens, you can respond effectively. That's basically
Mm-hmm.
the bottom line.
Go for it,
That's the
David.
bottom
Go for
line.
it.
I have an example with
Mm-hmm.
what Sonia explained. So I'm not a fan of horns being blown at me.
Mm-hmm.
When a horn is blown at me, I want to hop out of my car and go open hand smack the person who blew their
Oh
horn.
Lord, road rage.
But here's the thing though, because I know that about myself and I'm practicing mindfulness, I have a moment where I get to decide, all right, David, you have this thing that's triggering you. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna get out of your car and go open hand smack somebody, which is probably not the way to go, or are you gonna take a moment to breathe?
Right.
Tap into whatever your mindfulness practice is. Are you going to take a moment to just breathe and assess the situation? Are you
Yes.
going to affirm something that is true that helps take you off of the that takes the focus off of this person blowing the horn? Are you going to take a moment to focus in on something that you're grateful for in this moment right now, David? Are you going to sing a song or play a song that takes me out of that space of wanting to open hand smack? Because the open hand
Right.
smack, the desire to want to do that is real, right?
It's
It is.
real.
Mm-hmm.
It's
People,
real.
I think the misconception is that mindfulness means you have to all that you come out just peaceful and harmony. But life doesn't work that way, and
It
humans are
doesn't.
humans, and we are who we are.
Right.
Mindfulness gives us an opportunity, to Sony's point, to choose, to be
Right.
in control of the choice that we make,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
ultimately, the choice that we make has an impact on our body, which has an impact on our overall health and well-being and our wellness.
Right. So I love that. I love that. And this ties in for me with spirituality. There's this book that I read many, many moons ago by this evangelist Joyce Meyer, and it was
Yes,
called
I love
The
Joyce Meyer.
Battlefield of the Mind. And when I tell you that book changed my life, and it did so because it really focused on it, kind of indirectly focused on mindfulness. That's not what she called it, but it talked about thinking about what we're thinking about, right? And to me, mindfulness is really about our ability to kind of interrupt these thought patterns and redirect, right? So,
Yes.
mindfulness, it's hard for me to talk about mindfulness without meditation because they kind of go together for me. But it's really this thought that we do so many things mindlessly throughout our days, right? Even when we're
Yes.
driving, we could be driving. How many times have you driven somewhere and said, "Oh my God, I don't know how I got here because I was thinking
Right.
about this."
Hmm.
We're on autopilot. For me, it's in the office doing charts, picking up a piece of chocolate and eating it without thinking about it, and then wondering why the scale is not going down when I've unconsciously eaten 10 little candy bars throughout the day. There's so many things that we do mindlessly. And so I really love mindfulness because it helps us to kind of bring awareness to those things, as you guys said, and interrupt those thoughts and make a decision. Now, if we go ahead and decide to eat the chocolate, we're
Then there you
constantly
are.
doing it, right? But there have
Mhm.
been many times where I've been able to interrupt that thought and say, I don't really want that. Like, I
Right.
don't really have a taste for that. I could eat it and it would be okay and it would taste good, but that's not really what I want. And so I can make a decision to steer away from that. And so I think that's really one of the key components is thinking about what we're thinking about and knowing that we have the ability to kind of interrupt some of those thought patterns and thought processes. And when I first started meditating, I thought that the whole point was for my mind to be empty. And I'm like, this ain't working.
Oh,
It
no.
ain't working.
Then you was
You
gonna be
know,
sad. You ain't never gonna know.
right, right. I'm
Meditate if
like,
that's what you're
listen,
trying to get to.
I ain't gonna make it because
Right.
I'm all over the place. And I remember the first time I tried to meditate, I made it maybe like 30 seconds and I was like moving around like, oh my
Right.
God, this
Still a
is
good job.
this is not going to work, but with that consistency and with that discipline, then it gets to a point where I literally can sit there for, 30, 40 minutes, until my legs go numb, and and really just kind of, be focused on my breathing and be present and aware. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, so we talked kind of about mindfulness. So let's talk about how meditation plays. What is meditation? What does that mean? Or what does that look like?
So it's interesting because a lot of people, you said it before, Dr. Mitzi, about how there's an interesting thing between spirituality and maybe Christianity. I'm going to use
Mm-hmm.
Christianity as an overall umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's a sense that those two things don't go together, right?
Right.
Very often when I'm meditating, I am listening for God.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I am just download, let me be present to this moment
Right.
so that I can be guided to whatever is being given to me by the
Right.
infinite. Right, that is my main goal. And so what's interesting is that idea, I had the same experience when I first tried to meditate, and I was sitting there and I was like, I have been thinking about every single thing under the sun, every noise,
Right.
and that's actually part of it, right? Like
Right.
you don't realize that the part of it is to be aware of what's going on around you, to be aware
Mm-hmm.
of what your mind is telling you, what stories your mind is telling you, right? Like, who are you listening to when you're saying something in your mind? Who's listening, right?
Right.
So meditation for me was always just about getting still enough to be able to pay attention to what's going on in my mind, right? Because you'll be doing all this self-defeating stuff. Like you said, you'll be eating candy and not
Mm-hmm.
even your conscious body won't even be recognizing
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
You're
You'll be
like, hmm,
right.
where did those
So
extra 1,000 calories come from?
Not thousand. What kind of candy you eat? I want some of that candy.
Depends on how bad the day is.
Look,
It
right,
depends.
right,
Sometimes it's a
right,
rough day.
look, check this out
right.
though. Big Money V, put it in the chat, and this is mindfulness to me means to mind my own business, getting to know who I am as a person inside and out, and
Yes.
baked within Big Money V's comment is the the portion that Sonia's talking about. Knowing who I am as a person inside and
Right.
out requires being still for a moment to be
That's
present to
right.
who to hear.
Right.
To hear from God or the source or whatever higher power you want to use as the name, but also taking an opportunity to hear from self.
Right.
What's happening with self?
Right.
Right.
What's going on here? And an
Right.
opportunity to for me when I'm meditating, it creates like it creates a real life roadmap where I'm able to sit back and
Mm.
reflect and think about all the things that have happened in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And at the juncture of every point in my life, what I realize is that I make it every time. Well, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, good, bad,
Mhm.
I make it, and I'm here,
Right.
right?
Right.
So when I'm coming up out of my meditation, I'm reminded of my journey. I'm reminded of my story. I'm
Mm.
reminded of my narrative, and I
Mm.
have nothing but gratitude when I come out of my meditation because, for all intents and purposes, I'm still here,
That's
Right.
right.
I
That's
right?
right.
love it.
And
I love it.
I remind myself I'm gonna be here.
Right.
I ain't going nowhere till it's time for me to go.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know.
I love it. And, let's talk about, so I've seen some people kind of put in the chat some of the benefits of meditation, right? So we
Mm,
kind of talked about what mindfulness is, what meditation is, but what are some of the benefits? When I think about it, it can help with things like, in a practical sense, anxiety, right? So being
Yes.
able to kind of
Stress
calm
reduction.
and quiet
Hmm.
those thoughts, reduction of stress, because stress is often linked to us worrying about stuff that ain't happened, probably ain't gonna never happen, or worrying
Exactly.
about stuff that already happened that we can't do nothing about.
or just
Exactly.
So
or just being black living in America. Like that's
that's
stressful
stressful.
enough,
That's
That's
stressful.
stressful.
right?
Definitely
That's stressful.
stressful. And so, what are some of the benefits, right? So we talked about anxiety. I saw somebody put in the chat that they took a mindful eating class that helped with weight
Yes.
loss. So, what are some of the benefits that you guys have seen with meditation?
Well, outside of the anxiety, stress reduction. Now, the thing about stress, though, is I think people underestimate it, right? We use
Mhm.
it kind of loosely as like this, oh, I'm a kind of stressed out, but stress has real impacts on your body, right? Like
Absolutely.
there's the time where you need your body to be stressed out, right? Like something's happening, you need to access that, but that as a constant thing in your life is just bad for your body, right? It's
Absolutely.
increased cortisol. It's like all the things that are overflowing in your body that are not good for it long term. And so a lot of mindfulness allows for me, I think the main benefit is around the stress reduction, right? Is around
Hmm.
not being overwhelmed by all the things going on around you. So that means you're going to have, work out less anxiety, better sleep, right? Taking time, moving your body in a mindful way, being in
Hmm.
relationships in a mindful way. All of those things improve your own outlook on life, and it improves your relationships, right? Like if you are in a better mood, feel better about yourself, have a clearer sense of what's happening. You're not reacting when somebody says something because they weren't thinking. There's just the benefits go across every part of your life, right? Like just the time it takes for you to be still and understand who you are. The benefits are across
Yeah.
everything.
I mean, so
Across everything.
stress is a big one. And I talk about this a lot, especially when we think about a chronic disease like multiple sclerosis, right? Which is my subspecialty. One of the biggest issues that people often deal with is kind of this fear of the unknown because it is a neurologic disease where people can wake up one day and maybe can't see out of one eye or be have numbness or tingling. They don't know kind of what the future holds. Focusing on reducing that stress is huge because, as we know, stress does have real effects in the body long term, but also in the short term, right? Think about things like muscle tension, right? If someone
Right.
has a history of headaches and they get stressed out, guess what gets worse? Their headaches. If they have muscle cramps and they get stressed out, guess what gets worse? The muscle cramps.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is extremely important also about mindfulness and meditation is that mind body connection, right? Body scanning, taking those deep breaths,
Yes.
consciously relaxing parts of our body. One of the things that I realized when I started doing yoga about 20 years ago is that every day I'd be walking around like this. I mean, not literally, but just
Yeah,
about, right? And so
yeah.
But
I'm like,
just
man,
about
why
that's
are
what your
my
muscles
shoulders?
were doing.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
like, why are my
Hmm.
shoulders hurting so bad? And so I would go to yoga. And so the teacher would be like, get your shoulders out of your ears, and then I'll go down like this. And then 2 seconds later, I'll be like this again. Right. And so I'm like, no wonder I'm in pain. I've been walking around like this, for years. And so just even learning those areas of your body where you hold tension and hold stress, and knowing that you can consciously relax those. And as you get into more of your meditation practice, it won't just be during meditation, it'll be throughout the day. So now if I'm sitting in my office chair, I'll be like, ooh, why am I doing that? Right.
Right.
Because now I'm aware of where I hold that emotion or where I hold that tension, et cetera, in my body. And I can be mindful about it and kind of change or consciously relax those areas so that it doesn't snowball into something that causes more of an issue. What were you going to say, David?
No, I was just gonna say, in addition to everything, all of the beauty that's been shared, mindfulness also builds up discipline through intention.
Ooh,
And,
I love that.
and discipline is what changes behavior, and behavior is
Mm,
what changes lifestyles. And a lot of
Right.
times, there's the opportunity to lean into how we are engaging with our lifestyle that can impact what's happening with the biology inside our bodies, right? So
mhm,
if I have more intention and more discipline around how I lean into my self care, how I lean into my the routines that I have for managing whatever issues I may already have, like mindfulness helps to build that muscle up of consistency and discipline,
mm,
that go a long way, right? If a person has already set the intention that they're going to be dialed into and present with their own healthcare and well-being, the benefits from that alone, making that choice and that decision, and having the tools to lean into building the muscles of discipline and intention, support whatever a person's medical provider has already provided for them. Because
absolutely.
part of what I know and my own experience with with healthcare and in my family is, um, it is compliance,
Yes,
and
it's huge.
Yes.
It's
and,
huge.
and folk actually doing what's been prescribed when it makes sense. Because let's be clear, everything that's being prescribed is not the right thing to do. Because
This is
for
true.
for all intents and purposes, we're our own advocate when it comes to our healthcare. So
Absolutely.
and mindfulness helps us be present, clear with all of that, and build that muscle. I think intention is huge.
It is huge.
Intention is huge, and if I change the way that my mind, change my thinking, change my life.
That's
Right?
right.
We
That's
know,
right.
as an MBB major, I know we all know the primary study of biting a pencil,
Yeah.
and the fact of how just a physical body movement will change what neurohormones are released into the body from the brain. Like,
Right.
for me, mindfulness is a version of that, right?
Hmm.
When I'm affirming things, when I'm leaning into my gratitude, when I'm taking an opportunity to be with community and community, when I take a moment to breathe,
Hmm.
I'm setting my body up to receive the goodness that's already naturally there.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. And the other thing that I think is really important is that mindfulness is really also about empowerment,
Hmm.
right? One of the
Yes.
things, especially when people have challenges with their health, even if it's not a medical condition, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to, decrease anxiety and stress, sometimes we get in this role where we're like, oh my God, this is happening to me. There's nothing I can do, right? And so to me, mindfulness and meditation is really also about empowerment and taking control of your mental state, of your body. One of the most common questions that I get is, what can I do to help myself? Right? What can I do besides take a medication or, what have you? And this is one of the things that you can actively do to help yourself in many different ways.
Absolutely.
And the benefits extend well beyond just kind of general health conditions, but to your everyday life and your productivity and your ability to do things. So let's switch gears a little bit. I don't want us to run out of time because I know David's at the airport and he's, taking care of big business. But let's talk a little bit about Blackfullness, and let's talk a little bit about the Mindful You app. Tell us about that and kind of how that idea came about and what it's about.
So Blackfullness actually is an app that was formerly called Mindful You. Mindful
Okay.
You, yes,
Okay. So I'm wrong. I
yes.
got the wrong app. Okay.
It's all
So
good. It's all good.
Blackfullness. Okay. Okay.
Blackfullness,
Okay.
yes. Yeah. So Mindful You was a project that was done with Spelman and the National Institutes for Health. And there was a grant, and they did all this research and all this beta testing to get to where we are now. Blackfullness is what David and I are doing to bring this app to the world, right? And so this is an app designed for us, by us, specifically with stress reduction in mind.
Mhm.
So I want to offer that while it's not intended to be exclusionary by any means, it does intend to focus specifically on the very real fact that Black folks lead all races in allostatic load, right? Like stress is literally killing us.
Right.
And so for us, it's about being part of the solution. It's about being part of the work that needs to be done to support our people. And so Blackfullness is coming to the world. It'll be available February, Black History Month 2022,
Yay,
so that
I
people
can't
can
wait.
download it from all the app places that they download apps. And we're excited about that. And then we'll be doing some extra good special stuff for May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes,
Because that's
extremely
the other
important.
kind of, stigma. We don't want to talk about, that we don't really want to talk about that we're stressed out. We don't want to talk about that we have anxiety.
We know
But
that.
trauma builds anxiety, right? But we have a history of trauma.
Right.
That's generational trauma and anxiety, and it's okay because it's a thing that we're all working out, right? And so we're really leaning into that by creating not only this app, but an entire culturally relevant mindfulness ecosystem that people can be in, where it's safe to simply say, I'm stressed out and I need some support, and here is how I'm working that out. Here's how I'm setting up my practices so that I can succeed. Here's how I'm taking time for radical self-care, because it's time for Black folks to prioritize our own self-care, right? So there's so many things that we believe that this app is going to bring to the people, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
And we know that Black folk are not a monolith. Like Black folk, like there's so much diversity even within the Black diaspora, right? So we're bringing something in the form of this app and the additional content that we're bringing that is culturally relevant. And the app, Blackfullness itself, is easy to use. It's intuitive. It's fun, and it's something that when you roll up on it as a Black person, you feel like, oh, I'm at home. Like there's a level of hospitality and welcoming into the space that we pride ourselves on, right? Because for all intents and purposes, there are not many things that are customized and created specifically for Black folk as a primary consumer, right?
Right.
Specifically in the tech space and with apps that bring into the space overall mindfulness and not just meditation. So our goal again is to support folk and support Black folk and any other folk who can find some of the beauty and lean into the beauty of what the app offers, but support people living their highest and best lives, because Black folk have been told way too many times that we've been told what we don't deserve.
Right.
And we're reminding folks through mindfulness what we do deserve, and what we do deserve is to live our highest and our best lives.
Yeah.
And to yeah, that's it. Just to live our highest and best lives. Period. Point blank.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Go ahead, Sonia. You were gonna say something.
I was just gonna say, to make sure that people know, it's Blackfullness, 2 L's. That's the key. In the word .com on all the socials. It's easy to find us, and we're in a place right now where we're fundraising. So all the work that came from this study with the National Institutes for Health was kind of the research app. And so now we joke and say we're about to add the strawberry flavor and make it fun, right?
Although I like the research app, so I know I didn't answer my questions like I was supposed to, but I like.
But we appreciate you.
I'm the worst beta client, right? I'm the worst. Like doctors, we do not follow instructions well.
Doctors do not follow
instructions.
But you gave us good feedback when we had you, though. So
exactly.
Absolutely. But this is so needed and so cool, because we need diversity in voices, right? So, even though, it may be, I liked what you said about, it is certainly focused on this population, but anybody can get in, right? Because we get into everything else, right?
Exactly.
So, I think that I love the fact that it is, specifically tailored, because there's some things that I can't get with, like when I'm listening to certain meditations, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
So it's really nice to have something, that is tailored, toward us. And I love that you guys are doing this work. So let's talk, kind of as we're winding up, and I'll say, for anybody who has questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I see lots of people talking about their mindfulness practices, which I'm glad to see that, people are practicing mindfulness and meditation and yoga. All these things are extremely important. And I'm very glad that so much attention is being brought to mental health in our community. You have celebrities like Taraji Henson and Charlemagne the God talking about therapy and normalizing therapy, which is so extremely important for our community. But let's talk about, so how do you start a meditation mindfulness practice? Like, where do you start, right? It's like, okay, guys, you got a degree and you're a reverend and you've been doing it for 50 years. I'm just sitting here like, okay, how do I get in, right? So how does somebody start, or what would you suggest as a way for people to start a mindfulness or meditation practice?
I would offer that it all starts with an intention, right? Like, it
Mhm.
all starts with saying, this is the thing I want to do, and then consistently putting it into practice, right? Like, there's
Consistent.
lots of things that we do that we have to do consistent, like brushing our teeth, right? Like, you spend time every day brushing your teeth, you set an intention because you know that there's going to be some benefit for it. So you make the time at a similar time, presumably a similar time every day, to make sure that that thing happens. And it's no different with mindfulness, right? Like, you have to set it as an intention, right? To spend the time on it and then do that consistently. And yes, you have to do it over and over. You can't get a six pack with one sit up, right? So you got to do multiple. So yes, you got to do this over and over too. So, like, you can start 5 minutes. I tell people, I even tell people 2 minutes. If
Yeah.
you can just focus on brushing your teeth while you're brushing your teeth, don't plan your day. Don't think about what you finna go eat. Don't think about what happened last night. Just brush your teeth. Just focus on the feeling of brushing your teeth and do that consistently. Your mind will change 100%. So it's
I
about
love that.
picking something small. Start small. Don't start with, I'm gonna sit down and meditate an hour every day like that.
Set
You're
up.
just,
That's a
because it's
setup.
not gonna work out. It's a setup, right?
Set
It's a
up.
setup.
You'll be asleep.
Oh, right, exactly.
And, and
Exactly.
and feeling bad for not making it through the whole hour. And then you
Right,
feel like,
right. And
Exactly.
beating yourself up. It's kind of like
Yeah.
prayer, right? You know what I mean? It's like, you set aside a time. It does not have to be long and involved. There are times when I need like a good 30, 40 minutes to get myself together, but that consistent practice, I love what you said, Sonia, 2 minutes, 1 minute,
yep.
a couple of minutes, and then build from there. But you have to be consistent and recognize that it's not going to be easy at first. If you have patterns that you've been doing for years and years, they're not going to
Right.
go away in like one sitting, but if you continue to exercise that muscle of discipline, I'm totally going to steal everything you guys said, and I'll give you like credit the first time, and then after that, just no.
All good. All good.
Good, bad,
Credit the
got.
first time. But no, I'm just playing. But there's so much good stuff that we've said today. But just exercising that muscle of discipline will make it easier the more that you do it. And what were you going to say, David?
The other thing is part of what we're doing. The company that Sonia and I have together is called Special Sauce,
Mhm.
and Special Sauce and Blackfullness, the content that we're offering, is meant to remind Black folk of the ways that we are already being mindful. That's where the demystifying part comes into play, right?
Right.
So an additional way with the intention is to take some time to be present with what we're already doing to
Right.
to be mindful. Take that low hanging fruit of what we're already doing and add the intention, add the discipline to what we're already doing to support building the muscle and also building the confidence around what it is to lean into mindfulness.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, this conversation has been amazing.
I
It
love you,
was
Dr. Mitzi.
everything that I hope for and more.
Hey,
Okay. So as we get ready, I don't see any questions in the chat, but tell the people where to find you guys. So give us the website one more time. Tell everybody where to find you guys. We're very excited about the app that you guys are putting out and all the amazing stuff you're doing, but tell us where to find you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mitzi. So we're at blackfullness.com, but that's two L's, BLACKFULLNESS. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter at Blackfullness. On Instagram, we're the Blackfullness. Yes.
woo! I like the Blackness. And
Yes.
and Sonia, do you want to give our WeFunder?
Yes.
And we're fundraising. So this is a
Mhm.
great chance. For as little as $100, you can invest in Blackfullness and in our success. That is wefundr.com/Blackfullness.
And I'm gonna say this real quick, Sonia, if it's okay. We released our WeFunder to our friends and family for about a week and a half.
Mhm.
And we've surpassed the $50,000 goal to have our WeFunder actually be opened up to the larger We Funder group. So I offer that to say, get in there, get in
Yeah.
there, get in there, get in there, because
Awesome.
we are not taking no for an answer. This the Blackfoot it is going to do exactly what it's supposed to do and be.
Awesome. Well, I cannot wait. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with
Thank
me
you for
this
having us,
Monday.
Dr.
Thank
Mitzi.
Thank you
you.
for
Thank
all
you.
of our viewers. I hope
Woo!
you guys learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nerdy Brain Chat with the Nerdy Neurologist. It's on all podcast platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. And I hope you guys got something out of it. And we will see you in 2 weeks. All right. Have a great one,
Thanks,
everybody.
Thank
Dr.
you,
Mitzi.
Dr. Mitzi.
Bye, y'all.